a father to the fatherless,
and a defender of widows.
His garden, his holy dwelling.
God sets the lonely in families.
He leads out the prisoners with singing.
As I was visiting with my wife before coming on this trip, she kindly reminded me that I did not seek her permission to go to a country that I've previously avoided coming to because of the Civil War. We did research, and to our best of our knowledge, this trip would be a safe one, and so far we've been blessed. But I've been excited to see this project with Suleiman. We've been partnering here in Ethiopia with Suleiman for a few years, but our videographer is the only one who has visited this project, and my heart has been so touched by what he filmed here that I felt compelled to come, but at the same time a little reticent because of the Civil War that is taking place. But I know other people who visited here and they seem to return safely, so we finally made the decision to come here, and it has been such a blessing. Our hearts have been touched in profound ways as we've witnessed the sacrifice, the vision that Suleiman has, and the sacrifice that he makes every day to carry this work forward, so many times without knowing whether there will be enough resources to continue caring for all of these children that God has put in his care. 4 years ago, when I began with Child Impact, Jim Rinney, the previous CEO, shared with me about a project in Ethiopia that had tremendous needs. It had obviously touched his heart in a significant way, and some funds had been provided simply to provide food to help these children. As I began to explore this project more, it became clear that Child Impact should be involved at a greater level, and we began that through sponsorship. Sponsorship is a beautiful thing because it really allows a project to have a financial base to survive. They don't have to worry about whether the funds will be available the next month because the sponsor is committed to every single month providing for the child that they have selected. And so we began the process as we went to church appointments of inviting individuals to sponsor children in Ethiopia. And now we have 161 children sponsored here, and we hope to expand that because the needs are tremendous.
Before we get the support from Child Impact International, we were struggling. We were struggling to sustain the lives of these beautiful children. Had it not been for the support of Child Impact International, our work would have been in jeopardy and the children would have been disbanded. So the coming of Child Impact to support this work has saved the lives of the children and helped to continue the work we have already started, the education work, child work, and all other related work critical for the lives of these children.
Child Impact International is very focused on rescuing kids from whatever situation in life they find themselves, where they're homeless on a street or where they're a handicapped child that's an orphan at the same time, and the enormous physical and psychological barriers that they must be facing, and the reinforcement that we in our partnerships around the world can bring in satisfying those needs for these children.
Every year, Child Impact produces videos about our projects. One of the standout videos is right here from Ethiopia, and it is the story of Suleiman that really grabs our heart. I think Suleiman making the soccer goal and the big smile on his face as he's playing along with the students that God has called him to support just really captured all of our minds and hearts. So I was excited to meet this man of God in person, and it has been such a blessing. Suleiman, as a young child, went through some tragedies in his life. When he was 7 years old, he was watching a tree being cut down, and those that were holding onto the tree with ropes lost control, and this tree fell on top of him. It left him lifeless, but somehow he survived, but he sustained injuries that have caused him to be disabled to this day. In addition, the famine in 1985 took the lives of his siblings and his mother, leaving him an orphan. But someone sponsored Suleiman to continue his education so that he could have food to eat. He pursued that education and got a degree at Addis Ababa University. And of course, the government, this bright young man, wanted to hire him, but he said, no, my passion is to start an orphanage, particularly for disabled children. I want to help those who have gone through the pain in life like I have. I want to be there for them. I want to stand in that gap and provide for their needs so they can have a bright future. And that is exactly what Suleiman has done at New Hope, both in Legadadi and Guder. These are new locations for me to visit. I've never been to Ethiopia before other than through the airport, in and out, and I've done that a couple of times. But when I began to walk up the hill in Legadadi, I was out of breath, and I'm thinking, I knew I could get a little better shape, but I didn't realize I was that out of shape. Fortunately, someone relieved me by telling me that we are way above sea level. We were at about 8,000 feet. And so naturally, I was out of breath from that experience. But it's a beautiful setting at Legadadi and Guder. The campuses are in a beautiful nature setting and really are in a place where the children can flourish in an educational environment. And so that was really encouraging to see the beautiful setting of both of these campuses.
I believe the investment that is Child Impact is making on these children is making them the future men and women. Every year there is an improved status among the children. Hundreds of kids have gotten education and they are being promoted from class to class with minimal dropout and minimum number of failed students. We see a hope that tomorrow they will be totally empowered with degrees, diplomas, and with practical as well as academic education.
Because Child Impact has been involved in sponsorship since 1966, we have been able to witness individuals who have been sponsored, who have graduated, and then give back. And it has been a consistent theme that I hear through our various projects, that someone who is inspired by a teacher wants to be a teacher. In fact, in the country of Bangladesh, the director for sponsorship for Child Impact was himself an orphaned sponsored student through Child Impact. So we see the same in the story of Suleiman here. He was sponsored, it was a different organization, but he was sponsored, and he knows the power of sponsorship to change lives. And so as we meet these children, we have no idea of the bright future that God has in store for them, of what He has placed on their hearts to make a difference for Him. Because someone stepped in the gap for them, they will want to do the same for others in the future. In America, we have a phrase, 3 strikes, you're out. As we look at the lives of some of these children here, particularly in Guder, and the challenges that they're facing, they don't have 3 strikes against them, they have 4 strikes against them. Strike 1 is generational poverty. Poverty is hard to break out of, and it leads individuals to desperate circumstances in their lives. In fact, it is the greatest cause of human trafficking in developing countries. Strike 2, many of these children are orphans. They may be a single orphan having lost one parent, or a double orphan having lost both parents. This creates a crisis in their life where they're very vulnerable. Strike 3, some of these children are also disabled. To be in poverty and an orphan and disabled, that's 3 strikes. But even worse than that, here in Ethiopia, there is a civil war. That is strike 4. War is the greatest cause of the lack of food in developing countries. Those channels whereby food pass, be it by ship, be it by train, be it by vehicle, trucks, those things are shut down. And food that was once accessible is no longer available. Food that was once grown In certain regions, it is no longer safe to be in those regions to grow that food. And so the civil war here is exacerbating already very difficult situations that these children find themselves in.
One of the interesting challenges working with Child Impact International is the overwhelming nature of the projects, and yet the fact that we need to reduce down a very large, complex problem into realizing you're saving one child at a time. And I want to appeal to other donors who are out there. There's a lot of us who are just waiting to be asked. And I'm asking you now, as a fellow donor and board member for Child Impact, respond to the need. The needs are enormous, and yet the God we serve is the God that has all the resources in the world. The interesting thing about philanthropy is that God doesn't need our money. What God needs is our hearts. And it wasn't incidental in the Bible when Jesus said, love the Lord your God with all your heart, with all your soul, and with all your mind. And at the same time saying, for where your treasure is, there your heart will be also. We need to take that treasure that God has given to us and employ it today, because the needs are here right now.
The needs of a disabled child can be overwhelming to a parent. In fact, there are statistics that show the divorce rate of parents who have children who are disabled escalates. There's a lot of stress. There are many times a lack of resources or knowing where to turn when faced with challenges. That is magnified in the third world context, where families don't know where to turn, and the children then can become a burden or an obstacle for their success in life as parents. And so these children get neglected. This is where our school here, the New Hope School in Gooter, steps in to be able to provide for these children a safe place where they're loved, where they're cared for, where they can receive an education. I have found in working with children with disabilities that they have other abilities that far surpass those of us that may not have obvious or visible disabilities. These are beautiful children. These are beautiful individuals who God has blessed in other very special ways. And so it's beautiful to see them being given opportunities here at this school. James 1:27 says that true religion is to minister to the widows and the orphans in their need, and to keep oneself unpolluted from the world. We as Seventh-day Adventists, we talk a lot about the world and being unpolluted from the world, but what are we doing to look after the orphans and the widows? If you're not involved personally, firsthand in your life, in ministering to orphans and widows, we would like to offer you that blessing, that benefit that God asks us to do, but also is so rewarding to be involved in doing this type of work. Greetings, friends. Sponsorship changes lives, and we see that happening right here in Ethiopia. In fact, Suleiman's story conveys the importance that a sponsor can make in the life of a child. He is now leading these projects that impact so many children. I would like to encourage you to become a sponsor. Go to childimpact.org and select sponsorship. You can make the world of difference for a child, or you can call our office at 423-910-0667. Thank you for joining Child Impact in bringing hope to a child.